Thank you for joining the City of Kingston's Common Council at our monthly caucus meeting. Today is Monday, August 3rd. My name is Andrea Schott, the council president and organizer for our virtual meetings. Before we begin, we would like to go over a few guidelines to help us navigate this system as efficiently and respectfully as possible. We ask that members of the public and press remain muted and off camera for the length of the meeting. As organizer, I reserve the right to mute anyone who unmutes themselves. Council control their own mute button. Good practice would be to mute yourself if you are not speaking to avoid background noise and feedback. If a council member or staff wishes to speak, they will raise their hands. The chairperson will call on them before they speak by stating their name clearly for our audio listeners. All of our meetings are recorded. Both video and written transcriptions will be made available to the public on the city's website. Although we will not have public speaking tonight, you can submit written comments to the City of Kingston clerk, Elisa Tinty, at emtinty@kingston-ny.gov, or by dropping them off at the drop box located outside the side door of City Hall. We also encourage you to reach out to committee chairs or your ward's representative at any time. If you have any audio issues, send a text message to the following number, 845-594-6120. Please note that phone calls will not be answered during the meeting. The number to text again is 845-594-6120. As the organizer for today's meeting, I reserve the right to lock and pause the meeting and eject anyone who has behaved inappropriately. Lastly, at tonight's meeting, we have in attendance the chair, Majority Leader, Alderman Rennie Childers, Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch, Alderman Doug Coop, Alderman Patrick O'Reilly, Alderman Tony Davis, Alderman Don Tolleran, Alderman Jeffrey Ventura Morale, and Alderwoman Rita Worthington. City staff, we have Corp Counsel Kevin Bryant, City Clerk Elisa Tinty, Corp Counsel Dan Kingston, and City Assessor Dan Baker. Thank you for your patience during these difficult times. And on behalf of the Common Council, I wish you and your family good health. I now turn the floor over to Majority Leader Rennie Childers.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. We are going to be discussing a number of issues that will come before the Common Council for a vote tomorrow night. We also may want to dip a little bit into the potential for having public comment at these virtual meetings. We're waiting to hear from the governor to see if he's deciding to extend the current regime, as it were, for virtual meetings for public bodies. We saw that today he put out a piece, or rather an extension for political party events, that these could continue to be held virtually. And so, you know, I don't want to jump the gun and have a big discussion, and then it turns out he doesn't extend those same rules for public bodies, but we might at least want to talk about it a little bit to prepare ourselves in case he does extend the rules for public bodies. Now, the other thing is I would like to, with everybody's permission, change the agenda here to move the discussion of the pilot for the Kingstonian project to the first item on our agenda, because Steve Shavit is having trouble he's having trouble signing in, and he has to recuse himself from this anyway, since he is an employee of Herzog's. So let's see. So is that still the case that Steve is not with us? All right. Does anybody?
I am working on trying to get him in, Rennie.
Okay. Does anybody have? Oh, Patrick O'Reilly just went away. Is this invasion of the virtual body snatchers? Erg. Any idea what's happened to Patrick? All right, then. Let's see. Well, let's go back. There's a number of things on the agenda that I think are not going to lead to any great discussion. So maybe we could look at those while we wait for Patrick to get back, and hopefully he gets back before Steve does. All right, so if we go to the very first item on the agenda then, this is the resolution of the Common Council to adopt the Kingston Open Space Plan as an addendum to the City of Kingston Comprehensive Plan. Let's see. Jeffrey Ventura-Morel, do you want to say anything about this particular item?
This is something that was brought to us by Julie Noble. She worked on it for quite a while. I think she brought it to us for the first time last year to those of us who were on the council then, and it basically is sort of a wish list of how much green space we hope to see preserved in the city of Kingston. It doesn't take away anybody's land. It doesn't remove anybody's right to use of their land. It's just basically adding that to the comprehensive plan so that we can preserve as much green space as we can.
Any discussion on this? Anybody concerned about it? Anybody thinking about voting against it tomorrow night, or are we all in favor of it? I get one thumb up, two thumbs up, 3, 4. I'll make it 5. Okay, good. All right, Patrick, are you back for sure? Okay, page 43, if you're looking at the resolution dockets, it's the first docket that is in the agenda, on the agenda there. And if you go to page 43, that is where the Kingstonian pilot agreement begins. All right, is everybody there? Okay, I'm going to invite Dan Baker to give us a little overview. We have been talking with the developers of the Kingstonian, and we've been following up on Joe Benura's offer to increase some of the numbers and alter a bit some of the provisions that I think everyone will find favorable. So Dan, can I ask you to give us a little overview of the 4 items that are changing?
Sure. Let me just pull it up. I sent an email out maybe about an hour ago that outlined these amendments, and I'm pulling that red line up right now. There was two term sheets I sent you, one that had a red line, one that just included all the amendments. So if you go to number 5, it is talks about the 14 affordable rental units, that those 14 affordable units will be for the life of the project. So that's an amendment in number 5. Additionally, in item number 7 on the Kingstonian pilot term sheet amendments, number 7, we are looking at instead of the current base property taxes that are being paid right now, those will convert into pilot payments at a minimum of $40,000 for the first year, increasing 3% annually for the life of the project. So that base year bumps up over $10,000. We move on to item number 11. We have an amendment to item number 11 that takes that profit sharing from 3% to 5%. And then item number 12, which is an addition, is a 50% reduction in monthly parking fees for residents of the 14 affordable units. So the example right now is they're estimating monthly rental charge of $100. 50% reduction would bring that monthly car rental space to $50. So those are the 4 amendments that I saw in that email today. I added those to the Kingstonian pilot term sheet as a red line and then also as a final. And that's what I have for you.
Great. Thank you so much. So, Tony Davis.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So we're on the questions on this right now.
We're talking about the amendments first. So I want to make sure everybody's on board with the amendments or any questions about the amendments.
So in regard to that, then, so there's been 4 changes and outlined by the assessor Dan Baker. Again, this another, as I stated last week, this another thing of example of the developers listening to the community, listen to and the Common Council, and be willing to make new changes. One being they're going to start their property tax base at $40,000 instead of $28,000, and the city, school, and the county are going to receive from the net operating income instead of 3%, 5%. Affordable housing is going to be throughout the entire for life, not just the pilot. So not just 25 years, but the life forever. And that they're going to reduce the parking fees for the 14 affordable housing units. So as I've stated before, and we have stated to the taxpayer that this will be no cost to the taxpayers. And so my opinion, if you're going to vote no against this, then are you saying that you want the taxpayers for it to cost the taxpayers something? Thank you.
Any other questions or comments regarding these developments here? Michelle Hirsch, please.
Hi, I'm Alderwoman Hirsch. I just want to say that I'm extremely pleased with the affordable housing units being for the lifetime of the project. That was of huge concern to me, so I'm very happy to see that included now. And additionally, in the increase to $40,000 a year, that they could squeeze that out. So I'm, again, happy that, they are listening even up until the last minute. So thank you.
Great. So anything else regarding the amendments there? Rita Worthington?
Yeah, I just want to echo Alderwoman Hirsch's comments that, I'm really impressed with how the developers reached out to the council members time and time again, as well as listen to the community. We sent back information to them that we received back from the community. I had a lot of meetings with them, telephone meetings with them, and asking them questions, and they, immediately got the answers to me, when they could get the answers to me. And one of the additions of decreasing the parking fees, we mentioned that to them, and immediately they said that's something that we had never been asked before. We're glad that you took it. We'll take it under advisement. And then at the last financial meeting, you all heard them say that they were going to do it, and now it's in these amendments. So this is, I'm happy about the way that they've reached out and the way that they've considered everybody. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Jeffrey Ventura-Morel?
Sorry. I have a question for Dan Baker, and then I have a comment after that. My question is, what does the life of the project mean? Does that mean forever while the building is standing, or if they at one point decide to convert it into condos, would those units still remain as affordable rentals?
We've seen no plan in place to convert those to condominium status. And what we plan on doing And just a point of fact, we plan on entering into an agreement with the developer for the lifetime of that project. And what that lifetime of the project, it means as long as that is standing and still being occupied as apartment units, that's what we expect. And we expect that developer to sign an agreement with the city to reflect that. And just to remind the council, this is a supporting framework resolution that we will be passing on to the Industrial Development Agency and letting them know this is what we expect as the minimum qualifications for a payment in lieu of tax agreement. There's my answer, and let you make your comment.
Thank you. Well, my comment is I'm also very pleased about how much the developers have listened to input and changed things relating to comments they have received from the communities. I spoke to one of the developers today, and one of the things I brought up was that I wish a lot of that information was being put forward to the public more. If this is to be a private-public partnership, I use the example to him of if I go to somebody and ask them to be an investor in my project, and I said, but I can't give you every single detail. You have to trust me on that. It's kind of a lot to ask of the public. So while I like the project in theory, I'm still on the fence about I would like my constituents to have all the answers before I can commit to voting yes or no. So I hope, since they have listened to so much of our input, I hope they listen to that before tomorrow and release some of the questions that were asked by Alderwoman Hirsch at the last finance meeting, for example. Thank you.
Tony Davis.
Alderman Tony Davis here, and this can comment into Jeffrey for morale. We've been elected to be the voice of our constituents, and the developers have met with most of us more than once. And as has been stated through several members here today, they've answered every question and that's come up to them and gotten the information into whoever might ask that question. And so, and although the public, per se, might not have any answers, we as representatives of them, we've gotten most of the information, if not more than information that many other developers might not have had to even divulge to us in regard to, their finances and how much they're putting in, et cetera, et cetera. And so if a constituent has a question, then that is why they should be reaching out to the representative, and that we would be able to answer that question for them. And if it was a question that we didn't, then as the representative, we could go back to that developer and say, this is a follow-up question. Do you have the answer? And so I think they have provided all the details that need to be provided to us, and who has to make that decision on the behalf of our constituents and the city, residents of the city of Kingston.
Yes, if I may, go ahead, Jeffrey.
Yes, well, I'm referring specifically to a lot of the questions that were discussed during the meeting. I believe that they do answer a lot of the questions that the public has, but at the same time, we were told that that was confidential information. We were not to share it with the public, so that's where I'm conflicted.
Well, I think this is Rennie Scott Childers. I think it's important to remember that this is mostly a private development. The developers themselves are putting up over $40 million in loans that they're taking, close to $10 million in their own money. The public part of the money is going mostly to the construction of the public amenities. So, like the plaza, for example. The other thing is that in these kinds of projects, developers do not have to give, they're not required whatsoever to give all the information that they use to whoever wants to hear it. It's similar to if somebody applies for a star exemption, they may have to provide their IRS forms to the the assessor, he can look at them and make a decision. But if a neighbor says, I don't believe that this person deserves the star exemption, the assessor then does not share the IRS tax form with that person, but can say, I looked at it. I made my judgment based on my experience and my knowledge. And so, this is kind of the balance that we have to have. We have to remember, too, that these guys are in a very competitive environment here. We know that there's a developer from down in New York City who's coming up here and is taking over lots of buildings uptown and would love to try to undermine this project for whatever his own reasons are. And we've seen him sue. We've seen him do all kinds of things. And so I think it's understandable that some of this information would have to remain with the developers and with those who are making the specific decision here. Last point is that a developer presents all this information to the IDA, and the IDA would refuse to supply the confidential information to anybody who asked for it. That's part of the nature of doing this kind of business in this kind of competitive environment. So, anything else on that point? Don Tollerman?
Yeah, I just want to add that, I've been involved in many real estate investments, and these guys have really provided more information than I've ever seen. So I hear what you're saying, Jeffrey. The city is an investor in a way because of the pilot. However, the ultimate transparency that you're suggesting, I'm afraid, would give away just trade secret. I mean, as Rennie said, it is a private development, and I don't think they should be expected to show absolutely everything. And I just commend them for the amount that they have shown to us and to the public. So,
Rita Worthington.
I just want to go back to Jeffrey's question about the life of the project. Just so you know, when I talked to one of the developers, that question came up, and he used the word forever. Just a comment.
All right. Michelle Hirsch?
I just want to reiterate what this is Alderwoman Michelle Hirsch. I want to reiterate that I was told as well by the developers that the lifetime of the project is beyond the pilot. It's just as long as that building is standing. That is the project.
Okay, great. So, Dan Baker?
I just want to just bring your attention to the way the current resolution was just recently probably written within the past day or so. We have to make sure that it is noted that this is a supporting resolution. Right now, the resolution talks about how the mayor would gain authorization to enter into an agreement. We have to make that amendment so that the resolution states that this is a supporting resolution passed on to the Industrial Development Agency and expressing support for the project. And then also, in addition, attach the pilot term sheet. So the way the current resolution is written right now, we have to have it reflect how the committee report was passed. Just a point of order. And I can make that adjustment, this evening, tomorrow morning with Corporation Counsel and Elisa to correct that.
Great, thank you, sir. Patrick O'Reilly and then Doug Koop.
Hi, Patrick O'Reilly. Those words, forever and the life of the project, they sound like words that lawyers are going to have to discuss at the sale of this property, the next sale of this property. So I'm sure that'll be a long, long time away. But when that comes up, when that bridge is crossed, I don't think these developers, for the next owners, are going to be able to, say that this is what we meant. So it's a long time, forever. Thank you.
I think there's a good song about that. Doug Coop?
Yeah, this is Doug Coop. Technical question. This is Resolution 128. Do we need to amend this resolution on the floor tomorrow night to include these four additions?
The answer is yes. We will need to do that tomorrow night. And so we can work that out. Now, first off, I want to make sure, so everybody is in favor of this for tomorrow night. Am I right? Or is there anybody who's on the fence or a no? So everybody's good for it. Oh, Tony Davis?
I'm gonna have to think about it.
Think about what?
Think about my decision.
All right.
I
Are you
concur.
talking about the amendments or the whole enchilada?
That was a joke.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so then the question is, I believe, so Michelle, do you want to make the motion to suspend the rules in order for us to be able to do the amendments?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, and then is it Tony? Do you want to make the second there?
I can make the second.
All right, great. And so then we'll introduce the amendments once we do that, and then we will move on to the vote on the pilot agreement itself, on the term sheet and so forth itself, right? Everybody clear on that process then? That sound okay, Doug and Dan?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Great. So now I understand that Steve Shabbat is now with us via telephone. So Andrew Schott, I believe you can unmute him so he can join us at least in vocal spirit, if not visual spirit. And then we
so
can...
I don't know exactly which caller he is. I'll just unmute them, but he also knows to text me as his way of raising his hand. So he is here though. Steve, can you talk, Steve?
Yeah, can you hear me?
There he is.
Yeah,
so you can. So I'm gonna put you on mute. So just text me if you want to raise your hand. Okay. If you want to talk.
Okay, yes.
All right.
Okay. I will speak at this point, I guess. Is that good?
Do you now that you want to say?
Okay. As you all know by now, I will be recusing myself. Although I'm not really sure that I have to. I really don't see a conflict of interest, but for the sake of argument and, just, to make everything a little bit clearer, I will recuse myself. I mean, I really have given everything a lot of thought here, and I think I can be objective about it. But all that being said, I will be recusing myself from the vote tomorrow night.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see here. All right, so we'll move on to Resolution 124. This is a budget transfer to cover the cost of a new laptop in the clerk's department. Doug Coop, do you need to say anything about this?
It's $731, no financial impact, just a new laptop.
All right, so is everybody okay with this one? Anybody against it? I think we're okay with that one then. Number 125, budget transfer in the Building and Safety Division for the emergency replacement of the rooftop air conditioning unit. Doug, anything about this one?
$2,950, no financial impact for the rooftop air conditioning at Building Safety. No financial impact. It's a simple budget transfer.
Lord knows we need to get that done because it's too hot these days. All right, Resolution 126. removing 11 traffic signals and replacing them with all-way stop signs. Just so you know, I had asked John Schulteis for information about the cost of putting in either a curb bump out, like I believe is going to happen on some other places. And this was for the spot, particularly the intersection at Washington and Linderman. And I suppose he got busy with something else because I do not see it here. And this was my main concern with this. Anyway, there is, let's see, who did this? Was this before, what committee did this come before?
This was Tony's, the Public Safety Committee.
All right, Tony, do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
So again, as you start, this is Alderman Tony Davis. As you mentioned, and Rennie, that John Schulteis, the city engineer, had gone through and studied 11 intersections, and I believe most of them have a blinking light that he says is not efficient and it doesn't serve its purposes. And so he was recommending that all these intersections have stop signs at the intersection. And I have not received any more information in regards to that particular intersection that you were referring to, Rennie. I can reach out to John tomorrow and see if he has any information on that, and I'll let you know before tomorrow's meeting.
That would be great because the other thing though is I know some people are concerned about change of this sort, but a crucial thing here is that these traffic lights, they're clearly very old, and he gave us a figure of it would cost, what was it, like $200,000 to replace each one. So if we've got 10 here, we're talking about several $1 million to replace these traffic lights. Plus, the study that was done by the city and the county suggested that these are not appropriate intersections for traffic lights anyway. So, there's some benefit to changing them. However, it would be good to know that at least that one particular intersection would have some kind of safety additions to it, because that's an intersection that's used a fair amount by children who walk to George Washington School. John did mention the possibility of doing, there's a kind of paint, of red paint they could use to make a kind of visual bump out. And I know there's some other things we could do with the stop signs, like putting a really powerful reflective red strip along the post that holds the sign. So I'd be, I think, open to this if those changes were made. But like I said, we want to, yes.
What street? That was Washington and Marius?
It's Washington and Linderman is the intersection that is the one, Washington and Linderman.
Okay.
That's the one in particular. Right now, the Marius intersection has a traffic crossing guard there. We talked about the potential for the school system to look into getting a crossing guard for the other intersection. Don't know if that's possible. Another option would be to ask the school system to work closely with the students who walk to see if they would use Janet and Delta, so that they could cross at Marius rather than trying to cross at that intersection at Washington and Linderman. So, I think we can work with it. I just have my concerns. I'd like to have a little bit more information from John before we vote tomorrow night. So if you'll check with him, Tony, I greatly appreciate it. Other than that, what are people's feelings about this particular piece of legislation? Anybody particularly for it or against it? Or Andrea Schott?
Can I just ask, because I know the intersection at Washington and Marius came up and it was determined that it didn't need legislation, that John and Ed Norman figured out a solution. Tony or anybody else, do you remember what that solution was?
I believe that solution was to remove, I believe they had two crossing, pedestrian crossing lines, and they were going to remove one, and I think put some more signage up just to warn people that the crossing. And I'm not sure if that's done, so follow up on that as well. I've been up
I
in the
believe
area.
it was done. Yeah, you might want to include Ed Norman on when you reach out to John, just in case it doesn't need legislation and they can come up with something that was similar. So I remember it didn't need council. And I do remember him saying that, them telling me that it was completed. I just can't remember exactly what they had come up with between John and Ed.
Jeffrey Morrell?
Yes, I believe they had also mentioned extending the no parking zone to make it a little bit further from the crosswalk that's in that intersection.
Yeah, there may be also, it might be important, there's some foliage there at that intersection too, that makes it difficult for automobiles coming down Linderman, heading east to Washington. It makes it difficult for them to see to the left. So we may need to talk to the property owner there about remediating some of that. But like I said, those are my concerns. So, I mean, in general, I think everybody's in favor of this legislation. Am I right? Michelle Hirsch?
Yes, this is Alderwoman Hirsch. I had attended a presentation last year by the county that was presented, the traffic study that the county did by traffic experts. So I listened to that. I know they had extensive public outreach. They had a hearing about this. So I'm generally in favor.
Yes, I agree. I know that they did that. The dilemma was when this was first presented to us, it included the curb bump outs at all of the Washington Avenue intersections. So, when we got this communication recently, and we talked with John, it was reduced. So, like I said, I think if into that tomorrow and we can hear a little bit more, we'll be able to make a more informed decision. But in general, I think everybody's for this. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right, then. Andrea Schott?
Just a point of clarification, Rennie, it was actually two separate studies and grant monies. It was the 11 traffic studies, and then the bump out was something different. So the takeaway from this project, it was supposed to kind of go hand in hand, and unfortunately, they had to cut down the one project.
Okay. Thanks for that. All right, so then I think we can move on. Resolution 127, adding 2-hour parking on St. James Street. Everybody okay with that? We did 128, 129, authorizing the mayor to execute New York State Department of Transportation Mass Transportation Capital Project Agreement and all applicable schedules.
This is to recover $83,125 associated with city bus New York State share of city bus expenditures. It's a positive impact of $83,125. Good idea, I think.
All right, everybody good with that one? Any comments, questions, queries? All right, good. Then let's see, Resolution 130, authorizing the mayor to enter into an executive agreement, I think. Seems to be a word missing there, maybe. Or I'm sorry, to execute, there's too many words, to execute an easement with the County of Ulster for the Midtown Linear Park project. Which committee was that one? Laws and Rules. Jeffrey, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think there's a typo there. It's to, hold on, where am I? To enter into and execute an easement.
Oh, and execute, okay.
Yeah, so this is basically for the mayor to enter an easement with the county to use part of their lands for the Midtown Linear Park project. It was voted unanimously in favor of Laws and Rules.
Okay, great. So, got too many screens here trying to figure out what I'm doing. So everybody's good with that one? Yes. All right. 131, authorizing the implementation of the updated amended investment policy. Doug Coop, any comment on that one?
Yeah, Doug Coop here. Resolution 130 and the following one, 132, are recommendations of the Controller John Toohey. 131 specifically is to amend the investment policy, which would add NICLAS as an improved depository. We have a list of several depository banks in the area. We would just add this one. John is recommending that they be added as one into which we could deposit city funds.
All right. Any questions or comments on those? Everybody good with those?
And the following one, 132, allied with Doug Coop here. 132 is allied with 131 from the controller to allow the city to actually invest funds into the NICLAS program. So we add it to the list, and then we could, at the discretion of the controller and the finance committee and the council, we could invest funds, deposit funds as an investment. It just broadens our base of investments.
Weren't they also a little bit more flexible? Wasn't that one of the advantages?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, good. So wider latitude, more flexibility. Sounds good. All right, resolution 133, referring the request for rezoning of 2 to 16 Montrepose Avenue to the City of Kingston Planning Board, Ulster County Planning Board, and Historic Landmark Preservation Commission. Any comments on this one? Jeffrey Morrell?
Yes, just a point of clarification. We're not voting on the rezoning itself. We are just voting. We voted at Laws and Rules to refer this to the involved agencies for their recommendations. And we will, before we vote on the rezoning, we will have a public hearing on the matter. It is scheduled at, I believe, 5 o'clock. Did we say 5, Andrea?
Yeah, August 19th at 5 p.m.
August 19th at 5 o'clock, which is right before the next Laws and Rules meeting.
Okay, Michelle Hirsch, it's your ward. You okay with this?
I actually wanted Alderwoman Hirsch here. So I've done a lot of outreach to the community here on West Chestnut. I held a ward meeting on Saturday regarding the rezone, where the owner of the property and the potential developer came to speak with the community. We had a very large turnout. Yeah, there's still a lot of questions that people are having regarding what does that rezone mean from going from RRR, which is the most restrictive zoning that we have here in Kingston. West Chestnut is also a historic area. And then to zone it into RT, which is much more inclusive. And there's still a lot of people that have a lot of questions and would like more information. I've spoken, Sue Cahill has agreed to have somebody from the planning board even set up another ward meeting with me to explain more about all the different various impacts of a zoning change. And so I'm just wondering if there's just any way we could hold off even on the hearing yet, or what steps we could take to slow this down just a little bit so that more people in the area can get all of the information that they need before the hearing, which is really right around the corner.
Andrea Scott, Tony Davis, Jeffrey Morrell.
Yeah, I mean, I know there is a specific deadline once the petition is set for the rezoning. And I'm sure either Dan or Kevin could help me remember the time for that. But also, we did actually get comments back already that I put onto the agenda for Laws and Rules from the Ulster County Planning Board. And one of their comments was that we should wait until after the seeker process, if they're going through the seeker process, which is what exactly we did with the Kingstonian. So I'm hoping either Dan could better help those, because do we have to wait to go, wait for the secret process to start and end before we could even do this, which would just automatically push back the public hearing? Dan, are you there?
Yeah, the difference is that there is no current application for site plan approval before the planning board. This is an independent application that has been submitted by a property owner to rezone a petition. This is not about a particular development. It's about a assertion by a property owner that this specific property is currently improperly zoned. This is not something that either should or can be held up for a sequel review with regard to a project that technically has not been initiated yet.
Dan, can you tell us what the timeline then for the is from when it was petitioned?
I can't tell you the exact number of days. Any one of you can look in the statute. It's right in the statute. Basically, the clock is ticking, and you need to wait for the official response from the planning board and the HLPC before rendering your determination. But there is no basis to delay this past your September meeting.
So would then what I'm gathering is that by sending it, by referring it to these other entities, we would get more information. So Michelle, if we're getting more information from them, would that help you and your constituents think about this project?
Yeah, I believe so. We learned on Saturday that this project has been in the works for quite some time and that they had spoken with the previous alderperson prior to me being in office. So I felt like I presented everything to the community as soon as I knew. So it was they all just feel like it's a very rushed process. And so I just want to, help them learn as much as they can.
I don't remember any of them reaching out to me.
Dan Gartenstein, do you want to add something here?
The only thing I would like to add is that my computer is about to die, so you may lose me soon. There is, again, this is a very different animal than what you dealt with either the Kingstonian or with Rupco. This is much more in keeping with what Mr. Tollerman has requested with regard to the parcels up in Golden Hill. This is, you have to be very careful to not make a determination with regard to the petition to rezone based upon your position or your beliefs about the development or the proposed development. This is about the site and the assertion that it's improperly zoned as it currently stands. And again, if you lose me because my computer dies, I apologize.
Thank you, Dan. Tony?
Alderman Tony Davis here. All I was going to just state was, and don't we have to follow the process? And I believe, and Dan Garcia's laid that out, that we have to follow the process and we can't just hold it back up. So that's what my question was going to be, is the process that you have to let them petition or file it and everything else go through before you could say we're going to have a decision one way or the other. That's it.
All right, Jeffrey Morrell.
No, basically what I was going to say was already said by Dan Karnstein.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, I was a little unclear on this item. I thought we were further along in the process. So, Michelle, I just want to make sure with you that as long as the process at this point is still about gathering information and not a decision-making, are you okay with it going forward?
Yeah, I don't know what the statute is, so I can't say for sure without having that information. So,
do you want to either look that up or talk with Corporation Counsel Dan Gartenstein tomorrow and clarify that?
Yes, thank you.
That'd be great, because as long as there's still process of information gathering, I think then it is important for us to follow the process as much as we can. But precisely because Dan points out that this is different from some of the zoning decisions we've made over the last 4 years or so, that we do need to pay more attention to the particulars here. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. All right. So Resolution 134, repealing Chapter A 406, Kingston City Court Act of the City of Kingston Code. Jeffrey, do you want to speak to this? Let us know what this is about.
Yeah, so this is a communication that was sent in 2015 by Judge Ball, and for some reason it was never acted upon. I don't know who. I don't believe any of us were on the council, or very few of us were on the council back then. So I don't know if anybody remembers, but he was basically asking us to repeal the Kingston City Court Act because there is already a state court act that supersedes what we had in the books, and it actually covers things that our act didn't include. So that was his recommendation, that we repeal that and we continue to follow the state law as it is written.
Great. So in other words, our city one is superseded and unnecessary.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So is everybody okay with simplifying our Kingston City Code this way? Yes. Okay, great. Then the last item on the of resolutions, first reading of local law number 2, authorizing amendment to local law 1 of 2019, amending Article 4, sections 22 to 20, composition, and 22-21 terms of office of the city code of the city of Kingston. Jeffrey, you want to tell us about that, please?
This is to update the membership of the Heritage Area Commission. So right now, the code requires 11 members, which made it very difficult for them to reach a quorum and to fill vacancies. So what they're asking is to reduce the membership to 7 members with 2 additional alternates. So if one member is absent, an alternate can fill in.
So this is a positive streamlining of this particular committee?
I believe so.
Okay. Everybody okay with this one? It's first reading, so we won't be voting on it, but we could comment if we want to. All right. So the last item was something that we discussed the potential for, and that is if we could just take a minute or two to consider whether to shift to public commentary via the virtual meeting platform, if the governor does extend the law, the exemptions allowing for virtual meetings. Any comments at this point? Any strong feelings one way or another? Michelle Hirsch, then Tony Davis.
Yes, my understanding is of the original executive order 202.1 allowing municipalities to meet virtually. It actually doesn't address public comment because public comment is not part of open meeting law. Public comment is set by our own rules. So I am most definitely in favor of live public comments. I believe that our community is really desiring this. We had no idea back in March how long this would last, and we've all done our best to accommodate everything. And I just think that if we have to keep it in the virtual world moving forward, that we need to start allowing live public comment. Thank you.
Tony Davis.
I think that's my same reflection. I wish that we could get back into the building, to the city hall, where people could come in, and I'm not sure where that is we're ever going to get back to that and norm. And I mean, we do receive the comments. I mean, everybody does read the comments that I know, the majority of the public who do send in things, and they want to make sure that they're being heard. And we tried to do that, I think, last month, where it was read off and that we received letters, what side of the police accountability. And I guess it's a strong voice out there that, and people want to be heard. And it's going to come with some some hiccups, I can say probably, where, I mean, unless Andrea or the woman or chairwoman and shout can like mute somebody when we say that you have a certain amount of time and they just ramble on. And so, you know, we have to be mindful of that too. If that we had, you know, we usually set aside 30, it was, I believe, 15, 30 minutes, chairwoman shot?
30 minutes.
How much?
30.
30. That we are holding to that 30 minutes. And that we just can't, you know, allow the public, you know, people just ramble on. And, you know, for 2 hours or so. So we're going to have to be mindful of that. That's why that's it.
Jeffrey Morrell?
Yes, my question would be, what in terms of infrastructure would this require? This is not something as simple as just unmuting everybody. So we would have to, first of all, probably require people to sign on, because right now I'm seeing 11 callers. So if we unmute everybody and say, does anybody have public speaking? How do we control, first of all, people not interrupting each other, people not adhering to the proper language, etc. Would this require us getting an intern to manage? I know President Schott already has 3 or 2 computer screens in front of her right now as it is. Would that require another computer for her to take care of? So it's a lot that has to be considered. And I'm asking, you know, what kind of infrastructural changes would this require?
We could talk to the county because they're doing it. So there is precedent for it. Andrea Schott and Michelle Hirsch.
I'm actually just calling because Steve Shabbat wants to speak. And Steve, you're unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'd just like to add a comment. When this all started, I don't think anybody, certainly I didn't have any idea how long this was going to last, and we still have no end in sight. And I think we made the right call in the beginning because we were kind of feeling our way. So, you know, I think the feeling was simpler is better, but, you know, we've moved on, you know, for 6 months now, you know, and I would like to see public comments back again, you know, live comments. I don't think it's going to be that difficult. We could find the same procedure and have people actually sign up before the meeting, as they do now. They have to sign the sheet before the meeting starts. So Andrea could go down the list and ask. I don't think it's going to be pandemonium. You know, it certainly could develop into that, but I think we've been pretty good over the years about holding the meetings to the 30-minute limit. You know, we're still going to have to, you know, take care of that bit of homework to make sure people don't, you know, step on anybody else's toes, you know, and take up 20 minutes of the 30 with one comment. So again, something we've been doing certainly since I've been on here. You know, we try and, you know, take care of that business. I think we can do it. I think there's ways to do it. And I think the public deserves to be heard.
Thank you, Steve. Michelle Hirsch.
Alderman Hirsch here. I believe that we should also be looking at, you know, the public being able to comment during committee meetings as well, as they used to when we were meeting. And I just don't believe that we should be burdening President Schott with this. The public comment should happen for the public and their right to public comment. It should not be at the expense of our convenience. Thank you.
Yes. Good. Tony Davis.
Tony Davis here, and that every committee doesn't have to. This want to reflect, committees don't have to set a long time for public comment during the committee meetings, if I'm correct.
Right. Jeffrey Morrell, then Rita Worthington.
Yes, that is correct. Speaking at a committee meeting is at the discretion of the chair.
Okay, Rita.
Yeah, I think, you know, in the beginning, there may be some logistical issues to take care of with this public comment. I do think that the public should be heard, though, especially on some of the, lack of a better phrase, big ticket items that we seem to discuss. Alderman Tony Davis brought up the police accountability. There were so many comments and so many letters that came in regarding that. And, every now and again, we got to talk about some of these big items that really deserve public input. And so if there's a way that we can get public comment in and we can hear what they're saying, I'm all for it. I do understand that it might be a little difficult doing it and it might be some extra required time on our part, but that's what we're here for. We were elected to serve the public, so we certainly should have their input.
Yeah, and we might, it may cost a little extra money, but I do agree we shouldn't burden President Schott any further. But like I said, I know that the Ulster County Legislature does it, so there's local precedent. We can talk with them. We can see how some other municipalities are doing it. So we're not making a decision tonight, partly because, we're waiting to see what the governor says about public municipal meetings. All right. Anything else anybody wants to say before we break here? Michelle Hirsch, then Rita Worthington.
I would like to just bring up the email that President Schott sent the council last Thursday about looking forward and communications to the public and whether or not we need to create a policy for press releases. And I just want to say that we are a deliberative body. And if a press release is to be going out on Common Council letterhead, that is something that should be run by all of us, all 9 of us. That there should not be any emails, press releases going out on Common Council letterhead that are not run by each and every one of us. Since June 5th, there's been 3 press releases that have gone out on council letterhead that were not run by the rest of the council. And so I don't know that we need to actually have a specific policy, but rather just following the deliberative body that we should be.
I think it's important to think about that in a comprehensive way because we can think about this in terms of social media also. We have to be careful in this day and age how we communicate. So I think it's something that deserves a deep discussion. We should also look and see what some other municipalities in the Hudson River Valley, do they have a particular set of rules or suggestions for how these things operate? So we may want to form an ad hoc committee to look into those questions that President Schott raised. We can maybe bring that up over the next week or two, see who'd like to be involved in that, see what procedure we would like to develop to think through these issues. All right, Rita Worthington.
Yes, just before we close out, I just wanted to convey and extend my condolences to Corp Counsel Kevin Bryant on the passing of his mother and to his family, and just to let him know that his family and himself are in my prayers.
Yes, our deep condolences to Kevin Bryant and his family. Tony Davis?
I was just going to reflect those same feelings.
Great. Anybody else on that or anything else? Kevin says thank you. All right. Then a motion to adjourn. All right. We got Jeffrey Ventura Morel, motion to adjourn. Michelle Hirsch, second. All in favor? Aye. Excellent. We are going to adjourn then. We'll see everybody back here in virtual world tomorrow night, 7:30.